There are, of course, lots of versions of this old song out there. I like the Cisco Houston version, not least of all because it uses drop D tuning, and that gives us some interesting options for picking. The 6th string is tuned down to be an octave below the 4th string. That gives us a couple of advantages. Obviously, of course, we've got a 6th string D now, which is a much richer sound on an acoustic guitar. Extends much further into the bass end. And since the 6th string and the 4th string are in octaves, we get lots of potential for this kind of thing. And it's a useful song to hone your skills in moving that thumb independently. Alright, so the song itself is very simple. We've got 3 chords. We've got D, there's an A7 towards the end, and we've got a G. And normally we play G this way in standard tuning, of course, but that is no longer a G. The bottom string has been moved down the equivalent of 2 frets, so that's a G now. And I'm going to use my 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the bottom string. And then the simplest thing would be to have a finger on the 3rd fret of the top string. That would give me a G chord. I need to mute the open 5th string just lightly with the underside of my 3rd finger. And just a little word of warning, this might not apply to you, but because I'm using quite light strings and I've detuned the bottom string, it's slack, and if I'm not very careful, when I place my finger on the 5th fret, I'm going to pull it slightly, so I just need to be really careful with my intonation there. Anyway, that's a standard way to play a G chord in drop D tuning. Of course, any notes here, like on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string or the 4th fret of the 3rd string, you could add 2, you could do something like that. When we look at the picking, you'll see that we don't really use the top string, so I needn't bother with that. So this is the shape I'm going to use. 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and then my 3rd finger is here on the 5th fret of the bottom string. That's my G. We get 12 bars in all. It's kind of a blues. So we get 6 bars of D, 2 bars of G, then 1 each of D and A7, and then it's back to D for 2 bars. Railroad Bill, Railroad Bill, he never worked and he never will. I'm gonna ride on Railroad Bill. That's the idea. Okay, so here's the picking, and this is not a picking that Cisco Houston does, but this is what I've got. It's essentially a very standard Travis pattern. I'm going to play the thumb on the bottom string and then up to the 2nd string. And I've got my 2nd finger on the 2nd string and my 1st finger is going to be on the 3rd string. In the 2nd pair, I'm going to bring my thumb up to the 4th string, just below the 1st finger on the 3rd string. And that's it. Now that's the typical Travis pattern. Outside, inside, outside, inside. That's going to be the same for the G chord. And for the A7, well, I'm going to bring my thumb up to the 5th string. So it's 5, 2, 4, 3. Railroad Bill, Railroad Bill, he never worked and he never will. I'm gonna ride old Railroad Bill. And what I might do to modify this is actually not play the top string the first time. I say the top string, I mean top string of the pattern. That's the 2nd string. So I might leave that out and just have... just gives it a bit more of a rhythmic profile. Otherwise the 2 repetitions of the pattern are going to be exactly the same and you kind of lose track of where you are in the bar. So, Railroad Bill, Railroad Bill, he never worked and he never will. I'm gonna ride old Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, he was a mighty mean man. He shut the midnight lantern from the brakeman's hand. I'm gonna ride old railroad Bill. Now the great thing about Travis picking is that we're not using the top string and we're not using the third finger of the right hand, so we've got those free to incorporate some extra notes, and we could recreate the vocal melody. In fact, the tune for this song only uses 4 different notes. We've got an F sharp on the 2nd fret of the top string. We've got an open top string, that's the E chord. There's a D on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and the C sharp, we get one of those on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. And of course, generally speaking, the melody notes are going to be included in the chord that we're playing, so it shouldn't be difficult to find them. Railroad Bill, railroad Bill. That's all F sharps, just like Jingle Bells. He never worked the E on the open top string, and he, as we go to our G chord, never, we can take the open top string, never, down to the D on the 2nd string, never will, gonna, up to the E again, ride, oh, there's a D, F sharp, D, C sharp on the A chord, 2nd string, 2nd fret, rail, top string, road, Bill, down to the D on the 2nd string. So all together. If you can just kind of sketch the melody out with the appropriate chords, then it all becomes a bit easier. Just one thought about the G chord. Getting the E on the top string there to move down to the D on the 2nd string. Actually, instead of playing E on the top string, you could play the 5th fret of the 2nd string. This kind of thing. I mean, it takes practice. I've been doing this for years, and it's kind of a thing that I like to do a lot. But once you've got this business together, you can start to add notes on the top string. The G, I like this. There you go, that's proper. Once I've got my little finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, I can move that up, much more bluesy sound. Just one more little detail there. If we're going to do this, rather than playing D here, how about this? This is a nice move in folk. Instead of playing the 2nd fret of the top string, play the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and instead of playing the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, play the 7th fret of the 3rd string. I'm still going to use my 3rd and 4th fingers. One more of those. Railroad Bill, Railroad Bill, he never worked and he never will. I'm gonna ride old Railroad Bill. Bill was a mighty mean man. He shot the midnight lantern from the brakeman's hand. I'm gonna ride old Railroad Bill. Buy me a pistol just as long as my arm. Gonna kill everybody ever done me harm. I'm gonna ride old Railroad Bill. And that's it.